Crimson Desert is already way better than 2 weeks ago when a few lucky people, including myself, got a review copy for the game. It's really interesting to see how quickly they react to like feedback that we had in our private Discord where we discussed things. And in this video, I want to go over the day 1 update where they again addressed a ton of extra stuff. And another big thing, so if we like quickly go into the game right now. So here I am in the Greymane's camp, and they now put a fast travel point right here. And they also put a fast travel point inside the city. And to showcase how big of a deal that is, so first, this fast travel point was over here. So then you had to travel quite a long time to get back to where you all, like if you were traveling here, you always were going to the main town of Hernand. But yeah, now you actually immediately are in that town, so this saves you like 5 minutes each time you fast travel. And the other thing is, they already had a fast travel point near the Greymane's camp. So basically how the story is designed, often you start a story act or during the main story, you have to go back to your camp to like talk to certain people and stuff like that. And there was, again, always a fast travel point, but you had to unlock this one. So it was not available from day 1. Also, you had to be like Act 4, and it was pretty hard to understand how you had to unlock this. They had like vines on it, the thing was not working, so you really had to basically follow a whole quest path in order to unlock this fast travel spot. And now they just, out of nowhere with the day 1 patch, were like, yeah, okay, here, have one. You can just use it now. No need to like do a stupid quest that, again, without a guide, is very hard to complete. So yeah, pretty crazy that they're already changing those types of things. But again, the day 1 update has way more of that stuff. So we go over here. These are the day 1 patch notes. And like I already said it in my review, right? I really think that 2 months from now, this game will be much better than it is right now. It is kind of wild to me that they've worked on this for like 8 years, and a lot of things that people can immediately point out are only addressed after launch or during the review process. They, for some reason, were not aware of these things before release, while I think if you would put like a QA team, again, we figured out a ton of stuff in a week or 2 time playing the game that they're now patching, that I think something is wrong with their QA process, basically, that they only are figuring those things out now. But again, better late than never. So let's go over the first patch. So they basically added a new tutorial quest at the start of Chapter 3 to help players learn more about the Abyss gears. So these are like the sockets, so the extra perks you can put on items. You can now also access the witch that does that sort of stuff way earlier. So this was like one of the things I noted in my review as well. Adjusted QTE difficulty when captured by enemies to gradually increase based on the number of times captured. So, and you see footage of it right here. There is this like huge battle that at one point you do, and there are these like black bear enemies. When you have full health, they out of nowhere can just grab you and stun lock you into this very difficult quick time event. You have no time to react basically, and the window that makes you successful so you can kick them away is very small. So, and you're just captured until you are able to get this quick time event right, which again is pretty hard. So if you just fail, you die. You respawn, good luck, try again. And that feels so weird because, hey, you have full health, you're fighting these enemies, you're doing a great job, and suddenly you're captured in his quick time event that has nothing to do with your gear or skill. Yeah, here, remove the bear's insta-kill damage and adjusted its overall damage. Again, that is great that they fixed that. Another thing I mentioned, and I think overall it's very cool, that boss fights, you have a cool introduction cutscene, you're like fighting the boss, then you do the actual battle, and then the boss usually has multiple phases. And in between those phases, you have another cool cutscene. First time you see them, you're like, wow, this is awesome. You can put the controller down for a bit, like, okay, I'm ready for the second phase. While you see Cliff fighting, it's very cool. But yeah, this game is quite challenging, especially when you encounter a boss for the first time. So the chance that you have to repeat that boss, very, very high. You likely have to do bosses multiple times. I said it in my review as well. Overall, expect to like take 30 minutes or more for certain bosses if you're not very well prepared. So that also means that every time you reach a new phase, you have to watch that cutscene again. Again, the first time it's cool, but the second time, the third time, the 10th time, you're like, come on. Well, what they now did is recently viewed cutscenes can now be fast forwarded more quickly. Again, that's another thing I mentioned in my review. I was like, no, this sucks. Okay, now you can just skip through it faster. That's great. Improve the usability of the skill learning feature, watch and learn. This is another thing. You see an enemy like do a certain attack, but sometimes something happens and then you're like, oh no, damn, I did not like properly learn that ability yet. And then the enemy can just not do it anymore. Some bosses have to watch and learn. And if you just like, for whatever reason, jump or dodge or whatever at that moment, you don't watch and learn again and the boss will not do the move, so you can never watch and learn again. Well, that seems to be addressed here too. Improve the skill menu so that skill names and descriptions are separate by weapon type and descriptions of videos for certain skills have been updated. Oh wow, you can now switch weapon here, like longsword, spear, dual weapon, fist. That is sick. So, okay. Okay, so you can now switch weapon. And the crazy part is that the video actually changes. Look at this. So you have the so it changed the name as well. So normally with like your regular sword, it's called stab. Then you go to unarmed and it's called sucker punch. And that is overall cool that all these abilities work for the different weapons and are sometimes different as well. So here it's called roundhouse kick, while with your sword it's called the spinning slash. With the spear it's called tactical step. Wow, this is really cool. And all these have like different they have like different videos depending on the weapon as well. They really updated this a lot. And again, I want to stress this in 2 weeks. These are live service developers. They are still supporting this like 8-year-old Black Desert Online. Well, I say 8 years old, it's 12 years old almost. Like, they're still supporting that game every week. I'm really expecting a lot from the post-launch, and they're already showing that. Yeah, they added like follow-up attacks to Cliff's flurry of blows, and also to the one from Damien and Unka. This was another thing that I mentioned in my review. Improve the Tenebrum battle in Chapter 4 so that the puzzle section no longer has to be replayed after dying during the fight. So, this was also really annoying. You had this boss fight that was really, like, not challenging, but just annoying. You had to hit the boss. It was super hard. And so, yeah, you failed sometimes. Or you were, like, flying and then you would drop down and die. Then you would respawn and you had to do a puzzle that was not even hard, but just took like 5-10 minutes before you could do the boss again. So sometimes you felt like you died for a really stupid reason, and then you had to redo the puzzle. Not anymore. They also adjusted the combat balance for certain bosses, including the Redevil. Like the Redevil, Chapter 3, really the first encounter where you're like, how am I supposed to beat this? But yeah, then you don't know the other bosses in the game yet, but fixed an issue where bosses could attack the player while the player is in the motion of reviving. Fixed abnormal movement and fight progression issues for certain bosses. Improved the combat behavior animation of the walker type enemy. Various improvements and fixes were made to the animations, movement, lip sync, visual clipping, visual effects, and voice acting for NPCs and animals. This is still something they need to address more. I see a lot of people talk about the lip sync. Like, again, there are quite some issues with this game. And this update does not address far from everything. But I think this is really good. I've rarely seen a day one update being so reactive, and it's kind of interesting in that regard as well. Like, we had this Discord set up for like all the creators and press that were reviewing the game, and the idea was, okay, if you're stuck at a puzzle, you can share tips, right? Because that is really needed. You will need guides or tips to complete certain aspects of this game. But yeah, what they were also doing is just checking everything. Every time people were saying, oh, this sucks. Oh, whoa, really no fast travel point in the Grey Main's camp? Or whoa, that takes very long to unlock. Whoa, this boss is kind of over the top, not well designed. They were writing it down and making instant, like, adjustments. I also mentioned it with the inventory space, right? When we started the game, we had 20 inventory slots. If you're playing right now, then you know that that is really not a lot. So they changed that from 20 to 50. Added, like, the small backpacks to the vendor so you can improve your inventory slots. They made more changes like that as well to give you more inventory space So the inventory menu is still not really great because there's just way too much crap. But it is much better than when I started playing 2 weeks ago. So that is kind of crazy. And a storage box is coming very soon. So that we can finally store items in our gray main camp. That is something they really need to add as well. Yeah, really curious to hear what you think if you are playing. Although, again, I think just waiting, like this patch shows you that, again, in 2 months it will be much better. If you want to watch my review where I go over everything and share my thoughts after having played a ton, then totally click the video on the screen and I will speak to you very soon. Goodbye.